In today's video, I'm going to unbox, set up, and talk you through the FeiyuTech AK4500. It's an awesome cinematic camera gimbal, so let's get right into the video. Hey, what's up? It's Chris from Brooker Films, and yes, in today's video, we're talking all about the FeiyuTech AK4500, and it's a really awesome cinematic camera gimbal. Now, thank you to FeiyuTech for sending me this. I really do appreciate you sending me this camera gimbal to review and have a look at and have a play with. I really do appreciate it, so thank you very much. This is the box that it was shipped in, so we're just gonna take this out. Take it out of the shipping box, and this is what the box looks like. So we're just gonna open this up, and we're just gonna have a look at what's inside. Now, once we open this up, we've got two compartments here. We've got this box here, and we've got the main box over here. Now, the gimbal is going to be inside of here, and this box is for accessories. So we're just going to have a look at the main part of the gimbal first. So we'll pull this out, and then, of course, we've got the accessories box, but we're not going to worry about that for now. And we're going to talk about the main part of this kit, and this is the gimbal itself. Now, this case is really awesome because this is the carry case. If you wanted to go to shoots with the gimbal, with your camera, all you have to do is throw the gimbal in this lightweight case and you're good to go. So that means you don't have to go ahead and buy a case for this. Now, if we just pop this open by unlocking these two hatches here, we can open this up and reveal the gimbal inside. So I'm going to tilt this up for you. We have an extension arm over here, we have a tripod here, the main gimbal is here, we've got batteries and charger, we've got the base plates, we've got a lens support, and then we've got this other extension rod over here. So let me quickly show you how to set this up and have a quick look at the gimbal. So we first want to begin by getting the tripod out. So this is this small thing here, we're just gonna push the legs out of the tripod, and the gimbal is going to sit on top of this. So we'll just pop this over here. Now, when you first open the case and reveal the gimbal, you are going to find these batteries, and it's super important that these batteries are fully charged before you put them into the gimbal. Now, in order to add these batteries into the gimbal, we first want to go to this cap at the bottom here. Just going to rotate this counterclockwise to reveal this compartment here. And this just says open, so we're going to push and click that off. And now we can go ahead and put those 4 batteries into the gimbal. So the left is going to be positive up, and the right is going to be positive down. Now, once you've added those in, you just want to close that up, and then add the cap back on at the bottom. Now from here, we can go ahead and we can stand this on the tripod that we just took out of the case. So all you have to do is connect the screw to the hole, and you just spin that in place. Make sure it's nice and snug. And there you go. You've got a really awesome camera gimbal ready to set up. Now, in order to connect the camera to the gimbal, you need to place your camera onto a base plate and slide the base plate into this section just here. And the base plate is this thing in the bottom left corner of the case, or the top right, depending on how you open this up. And the really awesome thing with this base plate is it has this quick release system on the base plate, which I haven't seen before on any other camera gimbals. So you slide the bottom part of this into the camera gimbal, and then you have this quick release system that allows you quick access to the camera whenever you will need it. So we're just going to begin by placing this base plate, the bottom part of the base plate, onto the gimbal. And in order to do that, you just want to make sure this clasp is over on unlock, and you just want to slide the arrow in to the gimbal and just roughly lock that in place. Now, we need to go ahead and we need to find a camera and get the base plate attached to the camera. So I'm using the Canon 5D Mark III for this example. It's great because it's a small compact camera and it's going to work perfectly with this gimbal. You want to take the second half of this base plate, and as you can see, there are no screws in this base plate, but there are screws in the case. So you want to go to this little box just over here. It looks like this really tiny small box. Just want to open this up, and as you can see, we've got these 2 screws inside of this case. So I'm just going to open this up, and we'll take the silver screw. That's this one just here. And then we're just going to spin it through the bottom of this base plate. We'll screw that in. And now once you've screwed that in, you basically can't pull this out. You would have to re-unscrew this out. And that's really awesome because it means you're not going to lose that screw. So once you've added the screw to the base plate, you want to add the base plate to the camera. So you want to find the hole on the bottom of your camera. You want to make sure this arrow pointing lens forward is pointing forward. And then you just want to screw that onto your camera. Now you really want to make sure that's tight. You don't want this to be loose because you don't want your camera to fall off at any point. And once that's nice and secure, you just want to hold down this latch here on the base plate, and you just want to add that onto the base plate. Cool, and once you've added that into the base plate, you just want to make sure that's locked off, make sure the camera's not going anywhere, and we can just let go. Now, as you can see, the camera is definitely not balanced right now. It's tilting over to the left, and this is where we need to go ahead and do some balancing. But I'm going to go ahead and show you the other features of this gimbal before we balance this camera up. So, as you can see, in this case, we have an extension arm, and this extension arm goes in between the tripod and the gimbal itself. And this basically is going to extend the gimbal out so you can get some really cool craning or jib shots with the gimbal. In this corner, obviously, we have the battery charging case. And if you've already charged your batteries, then you know exactly what this is going to do. We've got this extension arm with a hot shoe adapter, so you could add this to the top of the camera and add things to that. And then we have this lens supporter inside of the case, and this is basically going to sit on the end of your base plate and just give a little bit of extra support to the camera lens. This means when you're running around doing crazy camera moves, you're not going to risk any damage to the camera or the lens because the lens is going to be properly supported. In fact, let me show you how to install that right now. So in the bag where you found the screw for the base plate, you will also find this black screw. And this is to go through this loop part on the lens supporter. And then we're just going to go ahead and we're going to screw that right here at the very end of the base plate. And once you've added that on to the base plate, you just want to make sure that is nice and firm up to the lens. Make sure the screw is nice and tight. And then you're good to move on. Now, last but not least, in this case, we've just got a box full of cables. Can't get in. There we go. Just got a box full of cables. We've got loads of different cables here. So we've got micro USB. We've got USB-C. We've got this weird other type of USB. And then we also have another USB mini. So that is everything from this first box opened. Let's move on to the accessories box. And inside of this box, we have a whole array of different accessories. Now, I'm going to start with the bottom right, and we've got this handle. This handle is going to give you another point of contact on the gimbal. So rather than running around with the camera like this, you're going to have another handle which is just here, and that's going to mean you can hold the gimbal with one hand here and one hand on another support just up here. Now, I'm just going to put this down for 1 second, and we'll move on to the next bit of kit in here. And that is this really awesome Mimic remote. Now, this remote is really awesome because you've got some basic buttons on this remote. So you've got record, you've got mode, you've got a joystick, and then of course you've got the wheel as well. It can control your tilting, your pan, your roll, your camera focus, and loads of different other features. And the really awesome thing with this Mimic remote is it connects up to the handle. So you screw this into the handle, this goes on there, and you basically hold this remote and control all of these settings with your thumb when this is connected. But we'll connect this up in a minute. Moving on, we've got this box, and inside of this box, we've got screws, we've got cables, we've got an Allen key, we've got loads of different things in there. We'll come back to that in a little bit. We've also got a focus ring. So this goes with the follow focus, and the follow focus is this awesome device just here. Now, if you set this up all correctly, when you're adjusting the wheel on the gimbal itself, this should activate the follow focus motor, which is attached to the lens. And as you're changing the wheel over here, the focus is moving at the same time. Now, this is really important because it's really important that you do not touch the camera when you're operating the gimbal. The gimbal is electronically balanced, and if you're adding your hands onto the lens and you're manually adjusting focus, then the camera is going to be wiggling around and it's just not going to look pretty. So the best way to change your focus whilst you're filming is to use one of these wireless focus wheels and use this wheel on the gimbal itself. So I'm a huge fan of this bit of kit here. And then of course, as well as the follow focus, we've got the supportive kit. So we've got a rod for the follow focus. We've got this arm, and this arm basically attaches to the front of the base plate. The rod goes through this arm, and then we have the follow focus attached to the rod. So we've got all of that extra equipment, and then just underneath this controller is a bag of screws to set up the controller. So that's what we're going to go ahead and do right now. So if we just open up this bag, we've got 3 screws in here. We've got 1 long one and 2 short screws. Now, you want to grab this part of the handle. You want to find these 2 screws. So we've got a screw on the left, a screw on the right, and make sure make sure the screen is pointing towards you. Now you want to make sure that this is facing down, so this should go down here. And you want to make sure that these 2 circle connections line up with these 2 circle connections down here. We're going to grab these 2 screws and we're just going to secure that in place. Now we'll grab the big screw and we're just going to attach this to the handle. Now I did see a video online and it really made me cringe because it put the camera and the gimbal at risk, and somebody tried to secure this to this, and unfortunately this screw here isn't to connect to the handle. This screw is for an external monitor or other accessories. You actually want to mount this with this connection underneath the controller. So you want to grab the big screw, you want to grab the controller, you want to face the controls towards you, and then you want to put the screw underneath and connect these 2 together. And there you go. Once you've securely fastened those screws, you've got this second point of contact for your gimbal. So rather than operating the gimbal like this, you can operate the gimbal with 2 hands. And this is really awesome because when you need a low mode and you need to get the camera low to the ground, you just hold this second handle and you pull the camera low to the ground. Now, the camera is wiggling all over the place, so I'm going to show you the process of how to balance your camera to the gimbal. Now, you first want to begin by locking off every single part of the gimbal. So you'll find multiple gray switches all over the gimbal, and you just want to select all of these and change them all to lock. Now, once all of those have been locked, you shouldn't be able to move the camera if you try to. So if I shake the camera, that's not going to go anywhere. Now, we're first going to begin this by unlocking the tilt axis, so we'll just unlock this switch. And as you can see, we can move the camera on the tilt axis, but no other way. So basically what you want to do here is you want to hold the lens up to the sky, and if it doesn't stay in place, then you need to recalibrate. So if this is perfectly balanced, the lens should stay sat up. So if it's not doing that and it's shaking around like my camera is doing, you want to unlock this here. So you want to unlock this switch, and then you just want to pull that all the way up. So pull it up to about halfway. We'll lock that up, we'll pull it up to the sky, and now it's gone the other way. So we'll go down a touch, we'll lock that back up, and it's roughly staying in place. So there you go, that axis is now done. So now we can go ahead and we can move on to the base plate. So now you want to move your camera from lens pointing up to lens facing forward. And if this is perfectly balanced, the lens should stay facing forward, but if it drops, then it's not balanced. So you want to go to this base plate over here. You want to unlock the base plate, and you just want to go ahead and slide this forwards or backwards, and then keep locking the base plate in place every time you add this to a new position. So I've moved this back, I've locked it into place, and the gimbal is pretty much perfectly balanced from here. So I'm going to make sure that is nice and secure. And that's looking really awesome. Now, from here, we want to go ahead and we want to adjust this section just here. So we'll unlock here, and if the camera is balanced at this point, then it should perfectly sit where it is right now. But as you can see, if I let go, the camera drops. So this means we need to pull this over a little bit. So we're just going to unlock this bit just here, and we're going to pull the camera over to the right. Now, if I let go again, it's still not quite there. So we'll pull that over to the right one more time. We'll let go, and now it's going the opposite direction. So we're going to pull the camera back in the opposite direction, and if we let go, it's still not quite right. It's really important that you spend the time to get the gimbal perfectly balanced up, because if it's not balanced, then it doesn't matter how good the gimbal is, the footage won't look good. You have to get the camera balanced in order for the motor to do its job. Now, we're almost there. We're just going to move that over 1 more millimeter, and there you go. That is pretty much balanced now. Now you just want to make sure everything is nice and secure. Now we're just going to move on to the last section of the balancing. This is step 4. You want to unlock this switch just down here. You want to push the camera forward, and if it travels over to the left or to the right, then you need to go ahead and pull this forward or backwards. So same as before, once you move it, make sure you lock it back into position, retest it. Now, once you've made all 4 of those adjustments, we're now clear to turn the camera gimbal on and we can see if the camera balances itself. So we're going to hold that button on the top right, wait 2 seconds, and the camera should snap into position. Now, if I move the camera gimbal, you can see that the camera is nice and steady. Now, from what I've seen of the camera gimbal so far, I'm a huge fan of what it offers. It's super easy to use, it's really intelligent, and it can create some really awesome and cinematic camera moves. So I'm going to do my own testing, and I'm going to do a thorough breakdown and review video over the next week at some point, and the best way to stay updated and to see that video is to press that subscribe button. So if you've pressed that subscribe button, then I will see you tomorrow for another brand new video. See you there.